What's up guys, my name is Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about This Week at Bungie for January 17, 2019. Welcome to This Week at Bungie, basically talking about what's been going on over the past week, what's going on in the future, basically talking about updates and buffs and all the crazy stuff that are going on in Destiny 2 this week. There's really not a lot to talk about. You could probably skip this and really not worry about it. So if you don't really care too much, have a great day. There's really not much to talk about. In general, they basically talk about some updates of buffing certain archetype weapons in both of the modes, some issues with Black Armory, and some changes to the things. They talk about the form changes and then bug report. There's really not a lot going on in This Week at Bungie. Of course, this is going to be your audible version of the TWAB, so if you want to hear the news, just sit back, relax, and of course enjoy your cute fluffers on screen now. This is the last time you'll really need to look at the screen, is for these fluffers that are amazing and cute and adorable that are on screen now. Did I mention they're on screen now? Like the video, like the video, like the video is basically what they're saying. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. There's really not much to say about this first part, basically saying, hey, we're working on the DLC. That's the general consensus that I understood about this, working with Activision, Vicarious Visions, and High Moon Studios, and working, talking about how they did stuff on the last DLC, and they're working on the upcoming season of the Reacted, and I don't know, ignore it. It's just hob. Next up, let's talk about the changes to weapons that they're going to be doing. In general, they're going to be buffing underutilized weapon archetypes, adjusting hot button weapons in PvP like Telesto and Wavesplitter, and avoiding PvP adjustments that will negatively affect the PvE efficacy. And all of this will be coming with update 2.1.4, that's coming January 29th. So basically in, what is it, 2.5 weeks from now? Yeah, think about, maybe, yeah. No, however many days it is, it doesn't really matter. January 29th. So let's go ahead and talk about the different archetypes. First off, auto rifles. They're doing a damage increase for rapid fire, adaptive, and high impact families. This does not include the 450 auto rifles, which are precision frames. They're basically increasing the damage to compete in the special weapon meta right now, increasing the damage because to offset the higher risk, because you do have to get a decent amount close to the enemy. A decent amount close to the enemies? What am I saying right now? Next up, they're going to be buffing scout rifles, damage increase for lightweight and rapid fire families, as well as a general increase for all scout rifles in PvE, something that I highly think is very, very important because PvEs and as well as a couple other weapons are very, very bad in PvE. I'm very surprised they didn't mention fusion rifles in PvE. They just still suck and they really need to be looked at again. Sniper rifles increasing damage to the rapid fire archetype so you can kill in 2 body shots. However, sniper rifles are generally very successful right now. Also doing adjustments to exotic weapons. First of all, the Legend of Acreus increasing the damage to bump the range slightly, allowing you to do, in my opinion, more damage and DPS in PvE, which is something that it is like near the middle bottom of, which is kind of crazy considering that I loved using this weapon in the core game, so I'm glad it's getting a buff. Telesto is basically getting a nerf in the way that it should have been nerfed a long time ago. They noticed basically if you compare the charge rate of the Telesto to charge rates similar to it, the same archetype, it does way more damage than any of those other fusion rifles. So they're basically going to be reducing the PvP damage so that they don't just accidentally get multi-kills all the damn time, and they're also going to be increasing the optics of the weapon in return to still make this weapon very viable. Next up, the trace rifle. They're increasing the minimum amount of ammo you get from special ammo boxes, so all trace rifles will then have a spot in the meta, as well as the fact they're reducing the strength of the Wavesplitter because they're also getting the buff of the trace rifle. And the last little thing they wanted to mention is that they're looking at trace rifle damage in PvE, submachine gun damage adjustments, and shotgun adjustments, as well as a holistic look at the heavy slot. So there are going to be changes of these coming up. I don't know if this means that they're actually going to be changing this on January 29th, but they are looking at this as a thing that they're looking to change. Next up, let's talk about Stoking the Forge. Basically, some quality of life improvements and some changes to the Black Armory and a couple of things in them. First of all, ballistics logs no longer removed at reset. Instead, they'll have a stack of 5 per character instead of 2, I think it was. Weapon frames carried across reset will now refund into the following. Golds will give you a ballistic log. Silver will give you 3 modulus logs. Any instance of the Radiance Matrix will be removed from your inventory during the weekly reset. I believe that's the little box you get in your inventory when the frame is ready to be turned into Ada, and then you can go do it after that. Players should stop experiencing the issue with missing frames from Ada from a week-to-week basis. Players will still only be able to purchase 2 gold frames per week, which is the same as we understand it. Also improving or increasing the drop rate for the Black Armory lore from 10% to 20%, and it now requires a successful completion instead of just losing over and over again, which is what a lot of people did. There's an issue where there's a quest step for the Izanami Forge that you have to kill that special captain or the high value target on Nessus. Apparently you had to get the final blow to get credit towards it. That they're hopefully going to be able to fix that. Modulus reports and ballistics logs will now go to the postmaster if lost. And of course the forge emblems will be awarded on completing a forge, instead of completing the specific bounty that says complete a Volander forge or a Bagusha forge or whatnot. Kind of weird. And again, all of these will take place in the January 29 2.1.4 update. Next up, let's talk about Clubhouse renovations. Basically, they're talking about the community, the player support, and the forums. They're basically going to be minimizing all of the forums into this list of this stuff. Really not a lot to talk about here, so just read this. This is what they're just doing with the companion app and the forums and whatever. Next up, let's talk about the bugs. If you see this blue symbol here, this means Dr. Bungie talking about the updates that are coming soon and the bugs and known issues. If you're having some issues in the game right now and are listed here, you can hopefully see them to be changed soon. First off, part 1 are going to be the ones that will be coming with the January 29 2.1.4 update. First off, the lost radiant matrices being blocked from completing certain activities once it's pushed out of their inventory through the postmaster. They're fixing that. Fixing an issue where the weapon frames disappear from the inventory from week to week. We mentioned that above. Mysterious box keys, when you use certain forge keys on the box, it's for some reason doesn't give you credit and disappears and stops you from continuing that quest line, which I think is Izanagi's burden, but don't quest me on that. Fastidious Misser, pretty much the 4th time they've said it's going to be fixed, basically getting all of the Ascendant chests in the Dreaming City. This is never going to be fixed. Let's be honest here. I'm never getting this triumph. An issue where you can actually purchase the frames from Ada when your pursuit's inventory is full, just costing materials and doing nothing. Again, mentioning that roaming captain being able to have to do the final blow instead of being able to be on the fire team. An issue with Redrix's Bodsor as well as Luna from what I've noticed, making it so you have to re-log in upon completing the quest, which is absolutely terrifying. Every time you do it, you're just like, oh my god, I thought I finished. Why don't I get credit? Just log back in, you'll get it. It's really not an issue. If you ever have a trouble with Destiny 2, restart the app, it usually fixes it. The knife flip emote apparently was supposed to loop indefinitely, which apparently it does not, which I thought was just part of the emote. Next up, let's talk about the known issues, the other known issues that won't be fixed immediately. The key molds not being awarded to your 2nd and 3rd character, which was really annoying, made it so I could not get the Izanagi's burden on the first week because I have to wait for the Shadow Throne to come back again. There's an issue with the Relic Rumble Triumph. There's an issue with the Submachinist medal not being awarded, probably also affecting the Triumph as well. And in the Izanagi's burden scope, having an issue in the Well of Radiance, the Inertial Override, as well as in Fading and Gambit. Basically having some buff of one of these types, it's gonna throw off your scope in a weird way. And that is pretty much it. There's a video here of people killing lots of bosses with just well damage, which crashes a lot of games, which I think is really fun. A montage, whatnot. And then finally just mentioning the world's first for the Destiny community thing with the Niobe Labs. Shouting out to Raid Secrets, which were the people who figured out the first people, I think, some of the first people to talk about. I don't know who the first people is, to be honest, but there's a lot of people who were doing the Niobe Labs, and Raid Secrets was all up in the grill and being like, hey, we know what's going on, this is how to do it. And I was using Raid Secrets. It was very nice to be able to complete the Niobe Labs, which I have done, by the way. I have the ghost to prove it and the emblem and all that stuff. It's fun. It's a fun activity. Really hard. Really fun. But anyways, that is pretty much the tribe for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy again, and let me know in the comments down below if you had any questions, concerns, if there's some news that I missed that's going on. Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, my name's been Dychronic, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.